All right, today we're diving into a real high-stakes mystery, and it's all about Nvidia. Only one of the most valuable companies on the entire planet. And it all kicks off with this simple but totally explosive demand for proof.
And that call to action? Yeah, it came from none other than Michael Burry. He's not just asking for a couple of pictures here. He's demanding proof, actual proof of massive quantities of NVIDIA GPUs, basically saying, hey, something in your official story just doesn't smell right. And look, for anyone who might not know the name, this is the guy from The Big Short, the one who called the 2008 housing crash. So when Michael Burry starts asking questions, you better believe Wall Street listens. His skepticism carries a whole lot of weight. So the big question is, what's got him so interested this time? So here we have it. A legendary investor is zeroing in on Nvidia, the absolute darling of the AI boom. And you have to wonder, right? Is he trying to pull off another big short? Is history about to repeat itself? Okay, but here's the thing. Burry didn't actually start this fire. He just threw a whole lot of gasoline on it. He was amplifying a super detailed thread from a user on X who goes by Kakashi. This person laid out this really compelling case that picked apart NVIDIA's official numbers. So, let's get into it. Let's break down what they found.
And at the absolute heart of this entire debate are these things, the Blackwell GPUs. We're talking about NVIDIA's latest and greatest, the most powerful AI chips they've ever made. I mean, these are literally the engines driving the whole AI revolution. So yeah, how many they're making and shipping, that's a very big deal.
And this is the core of the problem. Nvidia's CEO, the famous Jensen Huang, came out and said they've shipped a staggering 6 million of these Blackwell GPUs in just the last year. 6 million. And that's the official number that's now being put under a microscope. So this brings us to clue number 1 in our little mystery, the revenue gap. The whole analysis really boils down to a pretty simple question. Does the money Nvidia says it made actually, pay for all those chips they claim to have shipped? Okay, so according to Nvidia's own paperwork, their own filings, the company has raked in $111 billion in data center revenue since they started shipping Blackwell. That is a massive number, no two ways about it. And this is the billion-dollar question, literally. Is $111 billion actually enough to cover 6 million of these super expensive cutting-edge chips? All right, let's dig into the math a little bit. Okay, so this table really lays out the core of the whole financial argument. On one hand, you've got the claim, 6 million units shipped. But then, when you run the numbers on that $111 billion in revenue, it looks like it only pays for something closer to 4 million units. That leaves this huge potential gap, right? We're talking millions of GPUs that are supposedly out there, but maybe not fully paid for or accounted for in the books just yet. All right, now for clue number 2. And this one takes us out of the spreadsheets and into the real world. Because it's not just about the money, it's about power, literally. Critics are pointing to another massive bottleneck, the insane amount of electricity you need to actually turn these things on. Yeah, this chart really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? The analysis calculates that if you actually deployed all 6 million of those GPUs, you'd need somewhere between 8.5 and 11 gigawatts of power to run them. Now, compare that to all the new data center power capacity coming online in the US, which is about 8.5 gigawatts. Those numbers are, well, they're uncomfortably close, to say the least. And a number like gigawatts can feel a little abstract. So let me put it another way. The amount of power we're talking about here is roughly the same as the entire electricity capacity for the country of Singapore. The whole country. That's just an incredible amount of energy. Now look, to be fair, we have to point out that this whole power argument rests on some pretty big assumptions. It assumes that most of these new chips are getting installed right here in the US. It also assumes that every single new data center is being filled only with NVIDIA hardware, leaving zero room for competitors like AMD or Google. So yeah, these are definitely important things to keep in the back of your mind. So when you factor in those assumptions, the picture gets a little muddy, right? It gets complicated. So where does that leave us? Well, we have some really compelling, data-driven questions on one side, but the full story is clearly still unfolding. This mystery is absolutely not solved yet. And you can really see the two camps forming here. On one side, you've got the bearish view, the skeptics. Burry, for example, points to Nvidia's huge stock buybacks. That's when a company buys its own shares, which can push the price up. He's basically saying this isn't creating real value for shareholders. It's just canceling out all the stock they're giving to executives. But then on the other side, you have defenders like the analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. He's saying, whoa, hold on, everyone's misunderstanding this. He claims it's just normal business. You build up a ton of inventory right before you launch a new chip. It's just part of the cycle.
And yet, despite all of the skepticism, all this debate and scrutiny, the market just doesn't seem to care at all. Nvidia's stock has just kept on its unbelievable tear, surging over 31% this year alone. I mean, it's just crushing the rest of the market. So for now, at least, the confidence out there is still sky high. So that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? Are these weird numbers just growing pains? You know, the kind of logistical nightmare you'd expect from a company at the absolute epicenter of a tech revolution? Or are they what Michael Burry seems to think they are? A critical warning sign, a canary in the coal mine, not just for Nvidia, but for the entire AI market that's built on top of it. That is the mystery that we're all waiting to see solved.